Welcome to the Brew Crew Review Podcast, the show by fans for fans of your Milwaukee Brewers.
All right, Brewer fans, welcome to the Brew Crew Review Podcast with our 2023 season preview as we get ready to launch opening day in the 2023 baseball season. My name is Craig, and joining me is Vince Travada today. How are you doing?
Hey, Craig, how are you? I just wanted to say as a quick a couple things, actually. Number one, I am really excited because it's baseball season, and number two, hard to believe, but this is the 2023 season prediction episode, and we've been doing this since 2004. It's kind of unbelievable that we've had season predictions going back that far. I'm sure that, all of our picks are correct, but yeah, anyways, I just had to say that. And also, is Chatter Scotty on for this milestone show here today?
I don't believe so, even though they've got the chime in number, so we'll see if they'll chime in and add their predictions for this season. Before we get started, there was a little bit of roster. Obviously, there's some competition in spring for some jobs, and I guess first of all, let's talk about just throw it out there for the rookies. I know there were a number of rookies competing for spots on the team, and I know all Brewer fans out there probably checked it on a documentary that the MLB was doing called The Freshman that highlighted it. I think they actually featured with Jackson Trio, who might make his major league debut this season. I just saw him get a hit in spring training just before this podcast started. And then we've got obviously Garrett Mitchell, Bryce Trang, Sal Frelick, and Joey Weimer. Out of those four guys, who I'm sure likely we'll all see some time in the Brewers uniform this season, the only players to make the roster, Garrett Mitchell, will most likely be our starting center fielder. And also congratulations to Bryce Trang, who will likely get regular at-bats at second base, and he made the team for the first time. So congratulations to him.
Yeah, it was pretty exciting to see. I've been pretty high on Terang for a while now. I think that, I don't know, you and I have had some slight disagreements on Terang and his upside, but at this point, I'm really excited to see what he can do. I'm not saying he's necessarily going to be a perennial all-star or anything like that, but, his ceiling, I think, is a little higher than some of the prospect handbooks gave him. And I also think that, at this point, he's done all that he can do in the minor leagues and in spring training to earn that opportunity. He's hit well throughout his minor league career at different levels. And I feel like at this point, he deserves to get the chance to play. So I'm personally very excited that he made the roster for opening day.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, he really showed well at AAA last year. He's got power speed. He's very valuable, can play shortstop, second base, third base. And yeah, I really think that, with the Colton Wong trade this offseason, you knew the Brewers had someone earmarked for second base of the future, and it's obviously Bryce Trang with Willie Peralta still under contract and one of their best players at shortstop. So it's cool that he was able to beat out some competition and most likely
Willie Peralta, Craig, that was a throwback.
Sorry, Willie Adames.
Willie Adames. We got to get these interns from Scotty's office on some edits and corrections already on this one.
Yep. So anyway, yeah, there's only so many Willies I can keep track of, but yeah, Willie Adames obviously at shortstop. So, yeah, okay. So the other more intriguing news and kind of like the Brewers storyline of the spring training stuff really was Keston Hiura. He was out of options and so had to win a job in the opening day roster for the Brewers in order to stay in the organization. Most likely, the Brewers brought in some competition for him. Not only Owen Miller, Mike Brosseau was still on the team. Obviously, Rowdy Tellez has solidified himself as everyday at bat, most likely at first. And they also brought in Luke Voigt, who had an opt-out clause at some point in the middle of spring training. He chose to extend that, stayed with the team, and the Brewers did not. The breaking news is the Brewers did sign him to a one-year contract with a club option for next season as well, and gave him a major league deal, and thus notified Keston Hiura that he was not going to make the roster and tried to trade him. Now, the breaking news just before we started this podcast was, and this is kind of shocking to me, and I'm not even sure if you're aware of this, Vince. Keston Hiura has cleared waivers and will be sent to Nashville, so he will stay within the organization.
Yeah, that's exciting. That is very exciting news. And yes, Craig, we actually broke that 2 hours ago on Twitter.
Oh, okay, great. Thank you for our interns.
Interns are all over it.
So I appreciate that. So Keston will stay a Milwaukee Brewer as of now. Fortunately, the Brewers will owe him $2.2 million on his contract that he won. He was given. So he's added some depth, and if he can hit his way back to the big league club, or at least maybe make himself, if he has a big year at AAA, maybe he can at least become trade bait again for the Milwaukee Brewers. So that is really exciting news to me that he is still a Milwaukee Brewer as of this the start of the season. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, Craig, I agree. And you and I talked here on our podcast a few weeks back, maybe 2 or so episodes ago, about Keston. And I still think that there's value there. I think that he's got the potential to be a decent bat still in the major leagues. I really like him off the bench at times as a right-handed power threat. He's got good gap power. Obviously, strikeouts are his issue, but if there's a way that he can learn to ever control and manage anything, it's probably his ability to cut down on his strikeout numbers. So I have a little faith in Keston still. He dealt with some personal issues, with his mom's cancer diagnosis 2 seasons ago. I think that the Brewers really did him wrong with his position switching a year or so ago. I think that he was, kind of given a short leash when he didn't necessarily deserve one. So I'm not going to give up on Keston here, and I thought it was really good news and very exciting to see that he's in the organization. And so is Luke Voigt. So we got 2 guys with pretty decent bats in the Brewers organization after today's news.
Yeah, so that's great. And obviously with Keston, besides the strikeouts, it's just his lack of defense versus not only defensive versatility, but really a lack of a defensive home at all, really almost regulates him to not be able to take on a bench role. I mean, if he's not starting for a team, he's going to be given DH at bats, and if you're not hitting, then you're not going to be giving a major league job. So unfortunately, that's probably the reason why he did clear waivers, I'm guessing, but it's still a little shocking that some teams, teams like Oakland or Washington or the Pirates wouldn't have taken a chance on him. Kind of shocking. But...
Even Cleveland, I thought Cleveland had a need for him. There was a number of teams. Detroit, I think, could have used him. I mean, to give him a spot as a DH, I didn't think was too much to ask. But again, I disagree a little bit. I think that he does serve some value off the bench. It's not going to be defensively. So obviously you've got to have 2 guys that can kind of account for that one bench role, basically, which is the big drawback with him. But I still think that even his bat is good enough that it could play. I really like late inning power threats, especially guys with gap power, and Keston Hiura has that. So, it's a long season, as we know, and there's going to be injuries throughout the year. So I'm guessing that Keston's going to get a chance. He'll be up in Milwaukee. I would guess sooner rather than later, to be honest. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, and the way that major league benches are used nowadays have vastly changed from like 20 or 30 years ago. I mean, there used to be guys with power just kind of left there, and they'd maybe get one at bat a game as a pinch hitter or something like that. And so someone like Keston would be valuable in that regard too. But now, when roster construction at the major league level, even with expanded 26-man roster, still really values versatility so that they can get these platoons in and pinch hitting off the bench or even defensive replacements. So really that's what's, I think, really hurts Keston, but hopefully he can make strides in his defensive metrics and whatnot at AAA this year too. So best of luck to him. I'm glad he's really kind of excited he's still in the organization. But with that said, I'm also kind of excited about Luke Voigt. I mean, here's a guy who just a couple of years ago during the pandemic, and this is the 2020 season, I believe, led the majors in home runs. So this guy's got legit 30 plus home run power given every day at bats. And I think he really makes up for some of the power that we lost through some other guys like Renfroe and whatnot. And I really think that he will be a valuable commodity to this team going forward. And I would have been sad had he opted out of his, and signed with another team. And I was a little bit worried about that, seeing Rhys Hoskins on the Phillies go down, and then in need of a
Yeah.
first baseman, and he still decided to stay with the Brewers. So there must be something there, and they must have really promised him something at some point within the last week or so.
Yeah, and it's interesting too because the only thing that really changed in that contract, I don't know if the dollar amounts changed a little bit. Perhaps they did, but the other thing that was added was a team option. So it wasn't like a player option that was added to be more advantageous to Voit. So yeah, it's kind of interesting how that played out. There was like a 28 or 30 hour window where he had opted out of his contract, and he wasn't under contract with anyone else, and he wasn't coming to camp, and sort of like everyone was on edge with what would happen because it was already announced that Keston wasn't going to make the opening day roster. So yeah, I was glad to see Voit stick around. And one other thing I think when looking at a guy like Luke Voit, it's really exciting to think about what he can do in Milwaukee at AmFam Field. That is a hitter's ballpark, I think, tailor-made for a guy like Luke Voit in many ways. So really excited to see what both him and Winker can do in playing 81 games at home in Milwaukee.
Yeah, and that's a really good point, Vince. There was a small window of time here in the last week where it looked very likely or possible or even plausible the Brewers could actually miss out on Voit and Hero then at that point. And here we are a couple days later, and they're both still in the organization and
yeah, it's amazing.
Locked in. So pretty cool.
Yeah.
So with that being said, we do this as annual tradition, but we're kind of going through the rest of baseball to see how we think the 2023 season will shake out. So we'll do that once again. We'll start over in the American League, but I know one of your favorite divisions, and that's the AL East.
Yep.
Do you want me to go first? Or you want to start off on your AL East prediction?
No, I can finish. I can go. That's fine, unless Scotty wants to jump in. But apparently he's not chiming in for this. I know it's one of his favorite episodes every year, so a little concerned. But no, we'll start. American League East. I am going to go with the Yankees, and then Tampa, and then Toronto. No, I'm going to go Toronto second. Sorry, New York, Toronto, Tampa, Boston, Baltimore, and I think the Orioles are going to be definitely on the upswing sooner rather than later. I don't think they've got quite enough to overtake Boston's resources this offseason, but certainly Baltimore is a much more exciting team to watch. I'd be pretty excited if I was an Orioles fan right now, but I'm going to keep them fifth for this season.
Yeah, and with the added 3 wild cards in each league, I think the Orioles actually were kind of in the running down the last couple of weeks of the last year to even eke out a wild card spot. So they're a team with their arrow pointing up for sure.
Yeah.
So my AL East, I've got the Blue Jays win the AL East, followed by the Rays, Yankees, Orioles, and Red Sox I'll have in last. And yeah, so that's the AL East. We'll go over which teams we think they'll also get wild cards here in a little bit, but next is AL West.
All right, AL West. Yeah, another interesting division. I think that the Astros repeat in the West. A little biased living here in Houston. In fact, we're going to be at the game on Thursday night here for opening day in Houston. So that should be exciting. But yeah, the Astros are my number one pick. I'm going to go with Seattle, I guess, is number 2. I don't know that they did enough this offseason, but I still think that there's some talent there that could kind of emerge. We'll go with Seattle number 2. We'll go with the Angels, the Rangers, and then unfortunately your Oakland A's, I think, are going to be last place.
Yeah, I think we're going to have a consensus on the A's being last also. I'm actually going to pick, again, going with a team that I think is about to break through into being a perennial playoff team with their core of younger players and some daft moves by their GM, who's always willing to do some trades. I'm going to go with the Mariners to win this division. I think the Astros, the loss of Justin Verlander, obviously they're still a good team, but Verlander, now the news that Altuve will be out for quite a while. I think we'll put them at disadvantage to start off the year, and I don't know, they'll catch up with them. But so I'm going to pick the Astros second, and then Angels third, who have got a couple of great players, obviously, with Ohtani and Trout. Fourth, I'm going to pick the Rangers, and fifth, I'm going to go with the A's, like I said. So that is the AL West. moving on
Yeah,
over
it's
to
disappointing what's going on in Oakland. I've always kind of liked the A's as a sleeper team, and yeah, it's disappointing. I don't know that this rebuild is necessarily going to pan out quickly enough for them, but it's interesting.
well, and the brewer that I guess technically a brewer that they acquired in the trade of in the 3-team trade where they traded away Sean Murphy, landed the Braves, and they landed Esteury Ruiz, center field
Yeah,
prospect from the Brewers, who was acquired in the Hader trade. So he's never actually played a game for the Brewers, but
he did.
oh, did
Yes,
he
he
play a
did.
game?
He sure did.
He did last year. Okay, so you'll know that more than me because you're gonna have to collect his autograph, right?
Last year he played in. I'll have Scotty's intern just got me something. He played in 3 games in a Brewers uniform last year. 9 plate appearances, 8 official at bats, no hits. Did score 2 runs. One as a pinch runner and 1 walk with the Brewers, which is his other time actually on the base path for Milwaukee. So yeah, he is an all-time Brewer. I did add his autograph to my all-time Brewers collection already. So yep, we're on it.
Nice. Well, anyway, he made the team for the A's, and he'll be presumably their starting center fielder this year and into the future. But again, longtime listeners of our podcast know that I have a little bit reservations on whether or not he can even be a regular MLB player. So I think the Brewers did really make out well on that trade.
Yeah,
So
definitely.
all right, moving on over to the AL Central. Vince, if you want to fire off your predictions for that.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Cleveland, number 1. I like the. It's always a tough division for me. I'm going to go with Minnesota, number 2, Chicago, Detroit, Kansas City.
All right. I'm going to go with the Twins as the number 1 team. I know that they made a acquisition of Pablo Lopez to solidify the rotation. I know that we've got Kente Maeda coming back from injury, and they, I think they're going to be a surprise team, and they always kind of overachieve, in my opinion. So Twins to win that division, with Cleveland a close second. The White Sox on the flip side of the Twins are like classic underachievers. I had some hopes in the last couple of years, but they failed me. So I'll pick them third. Even though getting rid of Tony La Russa at this stage is probably a good thing. Fourth, I've got the Royals, who again I think are on the upswing, and then the Tigers, unfortunately, even though I did DJ the wedding of one of their front office folks, they're dead last, unfortunately, in the AL Central. So yeah, I mean, that's looking like a pretty good league, the American League. Obviously, do you want to quick reiterate? Well, first go over the 3 division winners that I had were the Blue Jays, the Twins, and the Mariners. And then so for my 3 wild cards in this league, I will go with, I think obviously the Astros will be a wild card, the Yankees will be a wild card, and the Rays will be a wild card. So those 6 teams will be in the playoffs, and emerging from this, I'm gonna pick the American League Championship. I'm gonna have the Mariners over the Blue Jays in the American League Championship.
Wow. So, is this who you want or who you think?
Well, I think.
Okay, fair enough. All right. Okay, cool. I had the Yankees, the Guardians, and the Astros as my division winners. For my 3 wild card picks, I am going to go with Toronto. I agree with you there. I'm going to go with Tampa, and I am going to go with Seattle. Those will be my 3 wild card picks. And oh boy, American League champion. Boy, we're going to go with the American League. Did you pick your AL champ? You just picked your championship series, right?
Yeah, just the 2.
You pick your champ, Craig. Let me think for 20 seconds.
I did. Yeah, I picked the Mariners over the Blue Jays.
You picked over Blue Jays. Oh, that's right. Okay, got it. I'm gonna pick Tampa. I like Tampa. I think the Tampa is gonna make a weird late season Tampa-esque run in October. We'll see. I'm gonna pick Tampa. Yep, Tampa Bay Rays, AL champs.
All right, sounds good.
I do think that the Astros are going to be way better than second place team in the AL West. I think that they're probably going to run away with that division again. Could be wrong, obviously, but I still think that their offense is second to none, and I think they'll probably be the best team record-wise in the American League if I had to guess. But I don't necessarily think they're going to win the American League, if that makes sense.
Well, they'd still have some good
Like
pitching left, but I mean, I've got some concerns. I mean, Lance McCullers looks DL bound once again, and
yeah, but that didn't affect them too much last year. But yeah, I hear you.
yeah, I mean, I just think the loss of, but yeah, no, they obviously are a very good team and organization, and obviously returning World Series champions. So, all right, moving on over to the NL, and we'll end this with the NL Central again to leave our listeners in suspense for our possible Brewer picks. Let's start it off, and if you know, you can keep starting off if you want. If you want me to lead off, I can.
Sure.
You know, but
no, it doesn't
let's
matter.
start with the NL East.
Okay, in the East, let's go with. I can't believe I'm saying it. I think the Mets. I think they've done enough to solidify some of the spots in their team. I know that they just had a very hard luck injury to Edwin Diaz, but I still think that the Mets have enough talent on that team. I can't believe I'm saying that, but yeah, we'll go with the Mets. We'll go Phillies 2, Braves 3, Marlins 4, Nationals 5. Very tough division. Very, very tough division in the top 3 spots. I think you could definitely make a case for any of the Mets, Braves, or Phillies finishing at the top of that division.
Yeah, it seems like there's 3 really good teams on both the AL East and the NL East. I agree with that. Definitely. I've got the Phillies winning this. Obviously, they took that big blow with Hoskins going down, and Harper is still going to return from injury at some point this season. But I mean, they did sign Trey Turner, who's pretty freaking good. And their rotation is pretty solid, even though the back end now has some concerns. I'm going to pick the Phillies, and then the Braves, and then the Mets in third, and then Marlins 4th, Nationals definitely rebuilding, and 5th overall in the NL East. So moving on over, let's head over to the NL West.
NL West. God, I hate to say it, the Dodgers still think are number 1. I really wish they weren't. Love for them not to be. I really want the Padres. I'm like on the fence about maybe picking the Padres. You know what? What the hell? Let's go crazy. Let's pick the Padres number 1, the Dodgers number 2. We'll go with the Giants at 3, Diamondbacks, sorry, Craig, at 4, and the Rockies at 5.
Yeah, no, actually, I have the exact same order. I've got the Padres win the division, Dodgers in second. Again, I just think the Dodgers, they didn't lose Trey Turner. Their rotation has always got injury concerns, and it's not that deep this year. Even their bullpen, the loss of Kenley Jensen will probably, have some effect. In fact, they're going by a bullpen committee entering the season, which I disagree with as a philosophy. I just don't think I think they're gonna finish second. So Padres, Dodgers, Giants in third, Diamondbacks in fourth, breaking some rookies in, and the Rockies in fifth, who really don't have much of a plan.
My sorry, didn't mean to interrupt.
Yeah, no, good.
My biggest question for the Padres the last couple of seasons hasn't been a question of talent. It's always been about some of the chemistry issues that seemingly have emerged in that clubhouse. I know that there was some tension between Manny Machado and Fernando Tatis Jr. and some other things, but I really think that they've got just a ton of talent. Tatis is coming back this year. Presumably he's going to be healthy for most of the year. I think that their bullpen has been solidified, unfortunately, by Josh Hader. I think that they've got just a really good team top to bottom. So the Dodgers are really good too, but I'm gonna go with you. I'm gonna choose the Padres.
No, I agree with the whole. I mean, Juan Soto, who they acquired last year, and of course gave up a lot of good pieces for, is arguably one of the best players in baseball. He's only 24 years old. He's just amazing. And then you add in some underrated signings this year, like Michael Wacha, I think is an underrated pitcher who could throw you some nice innings, and even a signing like Nelson Cruz to kind of be like a bat with some depth and some experience. I think a guy like bringing a guy, with some of these younger guys like Soto and Tatis and Machado. I think it's just going to click for them this year, and that's why I picked them first. So I wouldn't
Yep.
be shocked. Yeah, and I think that this is their
Yep.
window with Hader being a free agent at the end of this year. This is their window that they really have to make a run if they're ever going to. So, all right, that brings us to the NL Central. Here we go.
Oh boy. Oh boy. I'm also going to throw caution to the wind. I'm going to pick Milwaukee for first place, despite the fact that I've been harping on them all winter for a bad offseason in some ways. It's truly just because I'm a homer, with this stuff. I'm not necessarily thinking that that's going to be the case, but if our offensive players that we did get are able to perform at the levels that they're capable of, but not necessarily expected to, in the sense that they're able to do it, but if they overperform a little bit, if Contreras is definitely an upgrade over Narvaez, if we get some power from Winker, if we get some power from Voit, if Tellez continues to hit, there's a lot of ifs. If the young guys can step up, I'm very excited about Garrett Mitchell. I'm pretty excited about Terang. I think Urias, if he's used properly, which bringing up Terang does to me, I think that's pretty exciting. So that is kind of what's swaying me here. I think our pitching is clearly better than St. Louis. I think our offense is questionable, but it could be. I'm gonna cross my fingers and pick Milwaukee to win the division. I'm not gonna put any money on it, but I'm gonna say Milwaukee, St. Louis, Chicago, Cincinnati, Pittsburgh. There you go.
There you go. All right, Brewer fans. But unfortunately, I think I make the homer pick of picking the Brewers in first place almost every year, at least within reason of the last like 5 or so years. Unfortunately, I'm picking Cardinals in first. I hate saying that. Brewers in second, Cubs in third, Reds in fourth, and Pirates in fifth. First of all, the Cardinals have some really nice young hitters about to break through in the league with Jordan Walker, Nolan Gorman. They always seem to find the Lars Nootbaars of the world, whatever the hell that means. That's always a Cardinal. And so, fortunately, if their pitching holds up, they seem like they're going to be the team to beat in the NL Central. With that being said, I really feel that the Brewers have a better shot at winning the division than they have getting a wild card over the likes of like the Mets or Braves or whatever. So, or even Dodgers in our scenario. So, I mean, I think that it's just going to be a battle. Again, the Brewers got to hope to stay healthy. And I would have picked the Brewers in first, but I'm really disappointed in the number one. I just don't understand what their plan was for the bullpen this year. I mean, I just don't get it. I feel like we needed at least 2 more quality bullpen arms that just didn't come. And I mean, we lost the likes of like Brad Boxberg and didn't replace them with like really anyone of that stature, in my opinion. So I think that's going to burn the Brewers in the long run, unfortunately. And even losing like a clubhouse guy like Brent Suter this year, I mean, I don't know. I hope I'm wrong. But I think if the Brewers were to have a breakthrough success and win the division this year, it'll be not necessarily because of these Jesse Winkers and the Luke Voits of the world, but I think it'll be because they have major contributions from their rookies, namely Garrett Mitchell, Bryce Trang, and I think, and I really feel that Sal Frelick will be up at some point this year and contributing, and those 3 can put in. And
I think Joey Weimer too, Craig.
Yeah,
I think Joey Weimer too.
It's a very good possibility as well. Yeah, so any of those guys could make a huge difference. I think, unfortunately, the Brewers are banking on the young guys. I think they held on, not trading any of those guys in the last couple off season or trade deadlines, I should say, or off season, and therefore we're kind of banking on this wave of young players, to be part of the next successful Brewers team, and I hope that is the case. With that being said, I also think Christian Yelich is going to have a really nice kind of bounce back, solid year as a leadoff hitter. And Willie Adames, he really is one of the best players. And I think he's a spark for this team with his enthusiasm that he brings. And then you've got all those role players like Tellez, and losing veterans like Wong will hurt, but I think overall, I still like our team to be very competitive right to the end, and hopefully we can squeak into the playoffs in some form. So, so I guess let's move on to the next, and that would be reiterating who your three three NL
Yeah.
champions are, and then your three wild cards.
Okay. My three wild cards in the NL, I'm going to, unfortunately, the Cardinals will be one. The Phillies will be one. And the Braves will be one. No, wait. Wow.
The only reason I think that you left the Dodgers were your
Dodgers, yeah. No, I misread that. Yeah, we're gonna have to go Dodgers, Cardinals, and Phillies.
Okay, yeah. So that should be interesting. I'm sure Braves fans are throwing things at their screen and
that's all right.
Thinking that
that's all right.
Yeah, exactly. They
you know what they took away our team back in the 1960s, so that's fine. I'm not too concerned. Champion coming out of the National League. It's such a crapshoot this year. I'm going to go with the Padres.
Yeah.
Yep. I don't see this Brewers team, unfortunately, as being deep enough in the playoffs to do much again. I hope I'm wrong. You always have a chance with our front three starters. I just think that we could potentially run into another 2021 like situation where the bats just sort of are hit or miss, and they miss in big moments when you're facing big game pitchers. And that's what happened to us against Atlanta in 2021. And I don't think we've done enough to rectify those types of deficiencies yet. So unless we do something big at the deadline, where again, of course, things can change, then we're going to, unfortunately, I think, see some of that lack of experience come in. We'll see. 2024 could be a huge year, but we'll see what happens at the deadline. But I don't hold my hopes up too much with the deadline history of this current group of front office guys with Milwaukee.
Yeah, I hear you there. So my division winners were the Phillies, Cardinals, and Padres. For the wild cards, I'm going to go with the Braves, Mets, and Dodgers. So unfortunately, that leaves the Brewers out in the cold, which is where we've already been this entire winter. It sucks, but for my NL champion, I'm going to go with the Phillies over the Padres. Let's see, where does that leave for your World Series matchup and prediction, Vince?
That leaves me with a Padres first time ever World Championship.
Padres, and then I forgot who you picked for your NL Padres.
Padres Rays.
Padres Rays. Okay, that's interesting. Yeah. And mine is even also kind of wildly out there, but I'm gonna go with the Mariners over the Phillies for the World Series. So speaking, we both have first time World Series champions, I guess, is our predictions.
Yeah. Unfortunately, our Milwaukee Brewers are still not that first time world champion for either one of us.
And it sucks because this should have been a year that was one of our key window years to take advantage of Burns and Peralta being on the team. We would have still had Josh Hader all this year too.
Yep.
I don't get it. This should have
been. I don't get it either.
This should have been the year for the Brewers to mark that off, but instead, maybe it'll be for the Padres and the Mariners instead. I don't know. That's what we're predicting.
Yeah, honestly, it should have been this year and next year. Even with Hader, I think Hader's a free agent after this season, right? I was thinking that 2022, 2023, 2024 were our three big window years to contend because you've got the starting rotation lockdown. Hader was for two of those seasons, and you've got this young crop of guys coming up who I do really like a lot with Weimer, Mitchell, Frelick, Terang, and even next year we might even Churio next year, and maybe even this year we'll see him. But anyways, yeah, frustrating. I even think under that scenario, you re-sign Hader to a huge one-year deal going into next season and whatever. But anyways, we didn't do that.
No, we did not. So with that being said, I mean, maybe there's an influx of youth will push us into the playoffs at least. And once we get, I just truly believe once we get into the playoffs, anything can happen, especially with our rotation, assuming that's intact. Yeah. I mean, it scares me because I think if we fall out of contention or at least a number of games out going in the trade deadline, there's going to be a major push by Brewer fans and practicality of us being like time to sell off and restock system because we're going to have Burns and Woodruff and some other pieces.
Yep.
Even Adamas might be
Adamas.
an option.
Yeah.
So I think the Brewers have to make a really good showing the first 4 months of the season. Hopefully we can push it deep into the playoffs this year. And once we get there, anything can happen. So I know we're kind of running out of time on this podcast, Vince, but let's just do quickly around the horn. Who are you going to have for your Brewers Rookie of the Year this season?
Well, I guess I have to check with the official scorekeepers here at home. Does Garrett Mitchell still count as a rookie? Did he qualify for rookie?
Yeah, I believe he's still a rookie.
Well, I'm going to go with Garrett Mitchell then. I think that Garrett's going to have a good year. I think that he has consistently shown the ability to hit at every level he's been at, and taking over as a starting center fielder this year should give him some peace of mind. He's it's not good that Tyrone Taylor had an injury, but it is what it is. So here we've got Garrett Mitchell, clearly the opening day center fielder, in my opinion, who is going to start fresh from day one. I'm going to go with Garrett Mitchell.
All right, there we go. Yeah. Mitchell last year only had 61 at bats of the Brewers, so he's definitely still a rookie. That's a great pick. I'll go with Bryce Strang then. I do think Free Lake will also contribute and possibly even Weimer, but yeah, I'm going to go with Bryce Strang, assuming he's going to have a kind of an underrated breakout rookie year. Okay, so for unsung Brewer of the year, who would be your pick for that?
Unsung Brewer of the year. I'm going to go. Well, I was talking about this with our anonymous source, Tom Carter, earlier today. We were talking over a few things he wanted me to keep under wraps, but one of those things was that William Contreras is probably going to be a little underrated in a sense that he's there, as a catcher, sort of doing his thing, but he's doing a lot of things behind the scenes that bring him up to that level that a guy like Omar Narvaez really couldn't get. So I think I'm going to go with William Contreras.
All right, I'm going to go with a local product who happened to make the opening day roster, and that's Owen Miller.
Nice.
Not sure how he's going to get playing time, but I assume that there might be an injury somewhere where he'd get some reps and kind of just be an unsung crowd, fan favorite and unsung hero for this year. All right, now we're going to, I don't know if you want to go over your Brewer pitcher and Brewer hitter of the year.
Brewer pitcher is going to be Corbin Burns. He's clearly an incredible talent. I think, unfortunately, he's going to be pitching lights out, partially because that's just who he is as a competitor, but also because he really wants to prove to the front office some things after that ugly arbitration hearing. So, yeah, I'm going to go with Corbin Burns as my pitcher of the year. Hitter of the year, hitter of the year. I'm going to go with Rowdy Tellez. I think that he continues to show improvements in his game. I love his power. I like the fact that he's got gap power. I like Rowdy Tellez. Let's say Rowdy.
All right. I'm going to go with pitcher of the year, Freddie Peralta, assuming he stays healthy for once and really breaks through as a great pitcher. And for my hitter of the year, I'll go with Willie Adames. Like I already mentioned, I think Yelich is going to have a really solid season. I do think Luke Voigt will have a better season than Jesse Winker. I'll just throw that out there. But overall, I really hope both those guys do well. Yeah, I'm just going to go with Willie Adames because, again, I think he's made strides each of his last couple of years, and obviously his batting average is a little bit low last year, and he does strike out a lot. But I think if he can cut down on the strikeouts and bring the average up a little bit, he could really be an unbelievable hitter. He hit 30 bombs last year, so I mean, yeah, he's going to be my Brewer hitter of the year, and we really need him in the middle of that lineup for sure. But yeah, Rowdy Tellez is also a great pick as well. So
nice.
Yeah, so that's something to look forward to, Brewer fans. So again, there's still plenty of excitement going into the season, just like every spring. Hope springs eternal. There's still, I'll point out, we still have one of the best rotations in Brewer history. We still have a lockdown closer in Devin Williams, who I think is even getting better. We could always, the thing is, I'm mentioning that I'm really disappointed in the bullpen. That's something that I believe that you can fix in season, especially for the trade deadline. But so I'm not super worried about that. But I think, again, the keys to the season, in my opinion, for the Milwaukee Brewers is going to be the youth movement and some of these guys Turang and Mitchell, like we both predicted, have to come through for us to really have a successful 2023. And I really have faith in those guys that they can do that. So that'll be.
Hey, Craig, we never answered. Who do you think is going to be the Brewers' overall team MVP? I'll just say that that's an actual award that's given by the Baseball Writers Association here in Milwaukee. I don't know if we got our invite from our colleagues last year, but it's probably in the mail. But it can be a pitcher or a hitter. I know that the last 2 seasons, Willie Adames won it. The year before that was Corbin Burns. But throughout the team's history, there has been one guy that's been named team MVP every year. I don't think we talked about it yet.
Yeah, so I'm assuming that that's probably one of my hitter or pitcher year. I'm going to go with Adames. So I guess 3
third year in a row. Woo, that's great.
I mean, I saw him at the fan event. Fans love him. He's very charismatic. I just think he has a love for baseball and for improving. And I think he's just past his, entering his baseball prime. And so I'm expecting him to have his best year ever this year. Which is huge. And the Brewers really need it from him. So I'll go with him. I think he's one of the most important, valuable pieces on the team right now at this juncture.
Yeah, great pick. I've been going back and forth between William Contreras and Devin Williams myself. I am going to go with William Contreras. I think he wins it just because he's going to clearly be an upgrade at a position that we needed an upgrade in.
And the thing that scares me about, and that's a great pick, even mentioning Devin Williams, I think he's the Brewer that we are least likely can afford to lose, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, totally agree.
Just totally because agree. Of how we haven't built good depth. I mean, no offense to Matt Bush or whatever, but I really just think without Devin Williams, people are not going to be scared of our bullpen whatsoever. Nor should they be. So Devin Williams, I think, is a huge factor. And
who's our closer if Williams gets hurt? Right. I mean, we lost Rogers. We obviously don't have Hader. I mean, is it Matt Bush is our closer?
Well, I believe just because he's kind of designated as a setup man, so it probably would be. And he's got some closing experience, but again, he's in his upper 30s and has some. I don't know. He doesn't.
Maybe K-Rod's available. We should sign him.
Oh boy. Well, he also has some off-field issues. So, yeah. Let's hope not. So no, let's hope for good health, and that's all you can really ask for. Happiness and health going into the 2023 Brewer season. So, all right. Well, thanks for tuning in, all of our listeners. Vince, I don't know if there's any other things you need to throw out there, but
yeah, just really quick, give us a follow, Brew Crew Review 1 on Twitter. Send us any email questions, Brew Crew Review Podcast with an S at gmail.com. We'll get to those. Thank you, Craig. Thank you, Scotty. Thank you, Chad. Thank you, Tom Carter. And happy opening day to everybody. We're really excited about another season of Brewers baseball. Happy to be covering it for y'all, and excited to be up in Milwaukee next week in person for opening day.
All right. Yeah. I'm looking to see a game with you, Vince, here the first week of the season.
Absolutely.
Get out to
absolutely.
And yeah, exciting to have baseball back here as we're here just on the cusp of opening day, and this is like 6 more months, so 6 or 7. Let's call it 7 more months of pure happiness with baseball. I know that's a big part of Scott's life as well. So it's happiness all around for everyone. Chad loves baseball.
It's like having a puppy.
Yeah.
Yep, it's like America, apple pie and puppies. It's perfect.
Absolutely.
All right, Gregor, that sounds great. Go Brewers, and we'll see y'all after the first week of the season for our next show.
All right, stay classy, Wisconsin.
Go Brewers.